let's talk about the Night of the Museum trilogy. I love these movies. I have my qualms with 2 and 3, of course, but I do love the, especially the first one. This one right here came out in 2006, back when I was a youngster, and I don't remember if I saw this in theaters, but I do remember watching this on DVD. Not this DVD, but on DVD, and thinking, oh, this is fun. And, I think it's a really good movie. This, I don't want to say devolves, but the series most certainly, does devolve into a adventure series, after 2, after this one, starting with 2. But this is a nice, really fun movie that you can watch with the fam, and it's just really exciting and fun. I watched, the end, basically, with my niece, my 10 months, actually, she turned 10 months that day on December 5th. With my 10-month-old niece just sitting in my arm, watching and, laughing, because of the movement and, the sound, and, she enjoyed it. She was, she's a baby, and obviously she's going to watch these when she's bigger, for the first time, but, she liked these movies because they're fun, and, they're great. And Ben Stiller is amazing. Ben Stiller is one of those actors that you will hear people praise, but he's never, I think, really... He's one of those actors that people praise, but he's never, I think, won an award, or, he doesn't really get, the attention that other people get, especially from his era. I think Owen Wilson, who he collaborates with frequently, I think he has more acclaim, and I think that's because of Lightning McQueen, and because he's in, what's that guy's name? He's in that Goofy Guys movies from Texas. Starts with an A. Anderson something. Thomas Anderson, maybe. He, because Owen Wilson is in those movies, he obviously gets a lot more acclaim. But Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson, who coincidentally are in these movies together, they're very similar in terms of their acting chops and in their comedic ability. They're very similar. And I think Ben Stiller, these films are standouts for him. And obviously he's done other great work. The MIDI movie is weird, and Tropic Thunder is hilarious. But he has had, it's just the thing of, great actor in very good projects. And I don't know, I like these movies. I've seen Tropic Thunder. I've seen some of his other work, of course. These probably are some of his best work, and it just works. And I think what especially helps this film stand out amongst its trilogy is that it has a father-son story in the center of it. And I haven't even told you what this movie's about. So this movie is about Ben Stiller. He plays Larry Daly. Larry Daly is this adventure kind of hustler, but this adventure guy who's I'm always coming up with something. He always has patents pending, but he doesn't actually have any real job, and he's always bouncing from job to job, apartment to apartment. And he has a 10-year-old kid named Nick. Nick is actually expressly said to be 10 in this movie. And Nick, like all children, needs stability. And Larry isn't providing that. So he's like, okay, after sort of having the swift kick of possibly moving again, which is not good for Nick, Nick not telling him about career day, and just, a sort of a sit down that he has with his ex-wife, who I will say, I appreciate that they never try to, villainize the ex-wife. She's not the best person. presumably, because she's the ex-wife. But, like, I do appreciate that, like, she isn't villainized. And Paul Rudd, as the stepdad, he's seen as goofy, but he's not villainized either. I appreciate that. But, Ben Stiller's like, no, I do have an interview tomorrow, and he ends up becoming the security guard for the Museum of Natural History in New York. And his job is to, of course, guard the stuff there. He's the night guard. But there's a twist. All the stuff in the museum comes to life, and these wax figures, of course, turn into real actors, Owen Wilson is one of them, and, of course, the great and late Robin Williams plays a brilliant Teddy Roosevelt. And this movie is just really fun. The skeleton, the T-Rex skeleton, is like a giant dog. And, you have like tiny cowboys who go to war with tiny Roman soldiers, and it's great. Jed and Octavius are great characters. And yeah, it's just an amazing fun time. And that's, and Attila the Hun is great. And it just really works. The guy from Mr. Robot, who won an Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody, the Queen movie, he's in this young. It's before his success, and I think he does a good job throughout the series, even though he's not into barely. I've never thought about that. He's only in 5 minutes of the second movie. That's weird. But we're gonna get to the second movie. But this is just a really fun time, and it's really great. And I think it's not perfect. The second night kind of goes by really quickly. The nights are really the sort of the act definers, because every story has 3 acts, or every story is supposed to have 3 acts. The nights represent the acts. I think this is probably the best movie to come out of, this is like a children's book. What do we do with that? Because children's books are short, The Polar Express can be fun, but you can feel them stretching out a literal children's book to be 80 minutes. And this is almost 2 hours long. And I think what helps this movie not feel like other films of its ilk is that father-son story, is Ben Stiller and the relationship that he has with his kid. And of course, this actually has a really stacked cast. I mentioned I mentioned Robin Williams, Owen Wilson. Brad Garrett has a small role as an Easter head, an Easter Island head. And it's full of, the museum itself is full of interesting, fun characters. And of course, you have the amazing Dick Van Dyke, who is the only one of the original Night Guards, because you have Dick Van Dyke, Bill Cox, is that his name? He was in the Hudsucker Proxy. He's Reginald, and then you have, of course, and Reginald, the actor who plays Reginald, I think his name is Bill Cox, and of course Mickey Rooney have passed away at this point. Dick Van Dyke's the only actor still alive. I think he's 90, isn't he 93 or something like that? Maybe he's 98. Really long acting career, Dick Van Dyke. But those 3 actors are they are the original Night Guards who hire Larry to do the job. And they do a good job. They do solid comedic work, and they, bring a gravitas to this movie. A gravitas that perhaps isn't in the other 2. Like I said, this is the best one. It's not perfect. Like I said, I think it has, the second act, the second night kind of goes by really fast. And we sort of rush. I feel like the transition between second and third act may be slightly rushed, but that's because the acts are determined by the nights, I think. And it's all very interesting, and I love it. I just love this movie. It's fun. If you have not seen it, it's on Disney Plus. This one is a wholehearted recommendation because it is just such an amazing film. And of course, Robin Williams did a spectacular job as Teddy Roosevelt. This movie actually boosted the attendance of, real life attendance of the Museum of Natural History in New York City. And it's just a really fun movie. And I mean, I am a history geek. I love history, and I love these movies. So, also, I realized that during this viewing that I was like, oh wait, Attila the Hun is in this movie, but Genghis Khan is in Bill and Ted's Magical Adventure, or Excellent Adventure. I thought those were the same guy, and then I realized, oh wait, they're different guys. I'm sorry, my bad. They are different because Attila the Hun is a Hun, and Genghis Khan was a Mongolian, warlord, basically. I never realized that I was sort of, putting them together in my brain until just this viewing. Next is Night in the Museum 2, Battle of the Smithsonian. So this is when the series kind of goes from a fun adventure, or a fun little movie about a father and a son reconnecting and stuff like that, which I think is where Sean Levy sort of thrives. I love Sean Levy's movies. I think I'm the only person in the history of the internet who's actually said that on the internet, but I actually do love Sean Levy's movies. I do. He has been making movies, I think, essentially my entire life, honestly. Not to make Sean Levy feel old, but my man, you have been making movies my entire life. And I have been a great fan of your films. There are a few that I have not seen, obviously, like Date Night and This Is Where I Leave You. Some of your earlier work before Cheaper by the Dozen. But starting with Cheaper by the Dozen, I have seen, I think, almost every Sean Levy movie. And I think that he's actually a really good director, just maybe slightly underrated. And, I was excited to see what he would do for Deadpool 3. He did a good job at Deadpool 3. I think Night in the Museum is his best movie. And Real Steel is not streaming anymore anywhere, but that's probably in his top 3 best movies. So watch Night in the Museum, Cheaper by the Dozen, and Real Steel. And those 3 films are Sean Levy's top 3. Those are his A tier. And then watch, these 2 films. And Deadpool 3, I guess, too. But yeah, back to Battle of the Smithsonian. So, after the events of the first film, Larry made it big. He, for some reason, was able to be like, oh, my inventions are now a thing. So he quit night guarding and is now a big deal inventor. And now we see that some of the museum pieces, as in Jed and Dexter, I think Sacagawea as well, they are now getting moved because the museum is trying to revamp. Children don't care about wax figures anymore, so they're going to replace some of them with these holograms for some reason. And they're going to bring those guys, the 3 that I named, along with some others, like Attila the Hun and Octavius, and along with the other miniatures. They're going to move those exhibits to the Smithsonian. Now, the Smithsonian is one of the biggest, one of the biggest museums in the world. The Smithsonian is actually 19 different museums, all under the same banner. I've actually been to the Air and Space Museum, actually, thanks to a school trip that I took in 8th grade. And the Smithsonian is massively impressive. Well, half of our favorite characters from the first film are going to be put in storage underneath the Smithsonian. And Larry's like, what? Like, I didn't know this. You didn't know this because you've been busy making the big bucks as an inventor, Larry. That crap happens. Well, it turns out that Dexter, the mischievous monkey from the first film, actually this very monkey right here, who I did not mention, Dexter seems like an asshole. I know, like, he's a fake, fictional monkey that's actually not a real monkey, is a wax figure that got turned into a real monkey, but still, like, why does Dexter have to be such an ass? He really is he's a butt. He's a turd. A turd sandwich, if you will. I'm sorry if I said a-hole. Uncensored, I'm sorry. These are kids' movies. Although, they swear. Which always surprised me as a kid. I was like, oh my gosh. Because I was like 7 when the first film came out. But of course, Dexter took the tablet of Achman Ra. Achman Ra is the guy who Mr. Robot plays. Achman Ra is a real life mummy who gets turned to life. They never acknowledge that. Everyone else is like a wax statue or a stack of bones, like Rexy. Everyone is a wax statue except Achman Ra. Achman Ra is expressly a real-life mummy, like a real-life dead dude, like, that gets turned to life because of the magic of the tablet. The tablet is this thing about, who knows, it's a prop, but it's about yay big, so it's about the size of an actual, like, iPad tablet, like an old iPad, I guess, because they've gotten smaller. 2012, I have a 2012 iPad, so it's about the size of a 2012 iPad, and it's supposed to be solid gold, which I bet you is heavy. And it has magical powers that turn all the museum pieces to life. Dexter stole that, and now Larry has to go not only save his friends who are trapped in the museum, but has to save them from Achman Ra's brother, played by David from Friends. What is his name? Hank Azaria, played by Hank Azaria, who's the villain of the film. And now Hank Azaria, Common Raw wants the tablet because Common Raw can use it to open up the underworld and take over the entire planet, basically. So it's world domination for Common Raw. Achman Ra's older brother, who is, unfortunately, the 5th king of the 4th kings, as Achman Ra is the favorite son, being the 4th king of the 4th kings. And yeah, you want to know what? Common Raw is fun. I do have fun with this movie. This is a good movie. Unfortunately, I think it lost some of the heart of the first. The third film, I think, tries to regain that heart. This one is just your typical adventure movie. Larry David. Forgive me. Larry Lawrence is Larry Daly. That's his name. Larry Daly is. I'm having too much fun, y'all. Is now that he's a big inventor, he comes back to being he goes back to being a night guard for at least one night to help save his friends from the Smithsonian. He has his giant flashlight that is like a lightsaber now. He's just Cool Hand Luke. And he very often downplays the danger of Common Raw, because Common Raw, I think he knows how the tablet works, but Larry is very much nonchalantly and I think this is a bit of a problem, is all I gotta wait is for the sun to come up, and even, try not to be killed by you. Once the sun comes up, you're gonna be, dead. You're gonna go back to being a statue. I can just steal the tablet from you and then take my friends home. And I think that nonchalantness was a bit of a mistake, because without stakes, the thing has no more purpose. We need, the first movie's stakes were, oh shit, I'm gonna get fired. I'm gonna lose my son. I'm gonna lose like everything that is important to me because, spoilers for the first film that I tried not to spoil. Spoilers. These people are gonna, at the end of the movie, try to steal some important artifacts. So I have to not only save my child's father relationship, but I also have to save all this shit from from the museum that's gonna get stolen. And that's kind of important and adds stakes to the first film. And the first film has those stakes. The second one, unfortunately, doesn't. But I will say, for the most part, this is a fun movie. It's an adventure film. Amy Adams is a great actress. She played a great Amelia Earhart. I think it's funny that in the first two movies, they try to give Larry someone to, a girlfriend. Whether that's Carla Giguda? Is that her last name? The mom from Spy Kids. Whether that's the mom from Spy Kids in the first film, who's working on her doctorate in history, or Amelia Earhart, they try to give him a boo. And that's fine. It brings, Amy Adams, great actress, does bring some flavor to this movie, and there is fun to be had. Hank Azaria plays like Abraham Lincoln's statue. He also plays the Thinker. It's fun. You do see Robert Williams at some point as a different, Teddy Roosevelt. And it's overall just a fun experience. It's just that, because there's no stakes and because it kind of lacks the heart of the first film, that heart being the father-son relationship, it sort of, I think, just loses some things. And this isn't a bad movie. None of these are bad movies. It's just that we went from greatness to a good movie. And I like it. And I do think that they earned the Battle of the Smithsonian, subtitle, even though I think a lot of us just call this, Night Museum, Night Museum 2, Night Museum 3. It's nice, and it's fun. And I think they do a good job. Sean Levy, I think, also is one of the best, commentary givers. He has some of the best, I think, director commentaries around. His one here is, actually pretty good. And one complaint that I do have that is a nitpick, because I think not enough stakes, father-son relationship gone. I think those are legitimate complaints that I have. But a nitpick I have, because I'm going to nitpick, is there are three too many, honestly. Three too many, at the time, famous comedic actors cameos in this. You have Ed Helms, who, this was before he became famous. This came out in 2009, which I think was the year The Hangover came out. But, this was, 2009. Ed Helms is in this as a very small part, and it's before he really got famous because of The Hangover and because he was in The Office. You have Mindy Kaling, who everyone hates now. Thank you. I always didn't think Mindy Kaling was funny. I think she's incredibly unfunny in everything. But Mindy Kaling is in this, and why? How did she get cast in this? Honestly, she's horrible. But Mindy Kaling is in this, and Jonah Hill is in this. Jonah Hill probably has one of the best scenes in the movie, to be fair to Jonah Hill. But why is he in this movie? Just three random famous people from around the late 2000s, early 2010s are just in this movie for no real reason other than, cameo. And I'm sure that it wasn't intended to be a cameo because they weren't famous yet, but now they are famous and it's annoying. You know what I mean? Have you ever had that before? And then the fourth one, which I actually think is the best one, is the guy who plays Hiccup in the How to Train Your Dragon movies. He's in this, and minor spoiler, he's in this, and he's actually pretty good. He has a small bit role in like one scene because he's supposed to be a historical figure. You know, everyone is basically for the most part. And I think he's supposed to be. It's implied that he is supposed to be, I think, the guy who invents the telephone. But I'm not. I've never been sure. Is he? I've never Googled it. That's probably my problem. Is I never Googled who he is. But I think he's supposed to be the dude who invented the telephone. And that's a really, like, subtle joke in a kid's movie, or family movie, in a kid's movie, because no child, especially me, like, I didn't get that connection until I think I was a teenager, honestly. But I think he's supposed to be the dude who invented the telephone. And how is my, you know, I was like 10, how is a 10-year-old supposed to know that? I don't know. It's fine. This is, you know, we went from greatness to good, and now we're gonna go back to good. Because I think, honestly, the ranking of these is obviously the first one, 3, and then 2, but like all these are good. And then there is also a few years ago that came out with a like spinoff, maybe prequel to 3, I'm not actually quite sure, but there is a like little spinoff direct to Disney Plus little animated movie that they did where like Larry is played by Zachary Levi, and it's about his son Nick interning as a night guard at the museum. That's a good movie. It's decent enough. It most certainly doesn't have the same substance as the other, you know, as the original 3 movies. But you wanna what? If you wanted to turn it on, it's fun enough, and it, you know, is just another adventure with these characters, even though they are slightly different, because I don't think any of the original actors really come back for that animated film. But like it's just another adventure with these characters, and I think they did a good job at capturing them. It's just that, you know, the difference between the exact same people making a really fun movie together and an animated spinoff imitating that, you know, that's the difference. But enough about the you know, the animated spinoff movie that I did not rewatch for this review. Let's talk about a movie I did watch for this review, which is the Night of the Museum 3. And I took off the slipcover and threw it over on my desk because it actually has my Myers. I bought this at Myers. Hold up, let me show you that sticker. Certified Myers purchase right here. Back in 2015. So this, like I said, came out in 2006. Almost 20 years. Almost. 2009. And then this one, 3, came out in 2014. In December of 2014, when I am a freshman in high school. And this is a nice, fun, little nostalgic movie. We see Larry once again. He upgraded from being... so in the first movie, he was a night guard. Second movie, he was an inventor of like a glow-in-the-dark flashlight that he shows off in a talk show hosted by George Foreman. Yes, that George Foreman, the Foreman Grill George Foreman, who was also a heavyweight champion, but I know him as a grill master because I am young. Although, isn't there a movie about him? I meant to watch that. But now in the third movie, he is the head of the night program at the museum, because they set up in 2 that the museum is trying to do different type of attractions to attract, you know, families to come. Well, he's like, well, what if we do a night program? A night program makes sense, especially in a museum that has its statues come to life thanks to the tablet. Now, speaking of the tablet, this movie is called Night of the Museum 3, Secret of the Tomb. Now, this basically explains that, hey, the tablet that Ahmed Ra has is actually powered by the moon. We see in the film, back in the 1930s, that Cecil, who Dick Van Dyke played, Cecil and his dad, actually back in the 30s, were, the people who found the tablet back in the day. Cecil never mentioned that. Although Cecil, I do appreciate, not only are in the original film where they sort of playing it up where, like, obviously Cecil, Gus, and Reginald knew what was about to go down. Because they're all, they, right before the first night, they were making these comments, and Cecil especially was making these comments of, yeah, I mean, this place really comes to life at night. There's a magic in the air. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Once you watch the film, for the first time, you go back a second time, you really do catch on that. But something that I do kind of appreciate is that Cecil has a certain, and I'm sure that was not intended in the first place, but they do a good, but it makes sense once you watch this movie, sort of connecting, foreshadowing through expansion of creation. You could always tell that Cecil especially had an affinity for the museum that was never really explained. But he had a certain affinity for the museum, and he mentions that Mr. Fredericks was his father. My name is Cecil. Well, we see Mr. Fredericks, and we see a young Cecil back in 1930, I think too, as they are the people who discover the tablet of Akhmenrah. And we discover in this film that the tablet is powered by the moon. The tower, that Akhmenrah's tablet is powered by the moon. The only people who know the secret to the tablet, are in London. That being Akhmenrah's parents. Apparently, the expedition that found the tablet, that found Akhmenrah and subsequently his family, was actually a joint expedition between the American Natural History Museum in New York and the British Museum in London. So now we're off to London to figure out the secret of the tomb. You see, it came back. I will say, The Secret of the Tomb is probably the best subtitle of the entire series. Like, no hate towards Battle of the Smithsonian, but it only earns that title by the end of the movie, when there's an actual battle for the Smithsonian. This is all about the Secret of the Tomb. It's like Return of the King or Return of the Jedi, the Empire Strikes Back once in that first movie, and then the rebels are on the run. The Jedi are constantly returning because Luke goes away, constantly in that movie. Also, that is a joke, if you guys don't know. I'm joking. But in all seriousness, I actually do like Secret of the Tomb, the subtitle, better than Battle of the Smithsonian. Genuinely. Part of that is because I saw this one in theaters. This is, I think, the only Night Museum film that I actually saw in theaters. So there's, some nostalgia there. I watched it with my mom. Love my mom. Shout out to my mom. And I don't know. It's fun. It's nice. It was fun. And then actually after 3 came out, I think that Christmas or on my birthday, I was able to get 2 because I was like, oh, I only own the first one. I don't have 2. So, my love of 2 and 3 actually kind of grew side by side as I watched both of them more and more. Since I was 15. And then this one, of course, came out when I was 7. I've had this since I was 7. But no, this, like I said, this movie kind of brings back the heart ever so subtly from the first film. This one is not only about Larry having to go to London along with Teddy, Dexter, and then, a caveman that was made to look like Ben Stiller named Law. And then, I guess, of course, Jedediah and Octavius, the miniatures, are in this film as well. Those guys go to London along with Ben Stiller, Larry. But Nick is back. And Nick is now 18 and thinking about going to college. And trust me, my brother, I understand how stressful college can be. I only went for one semester. There are certain things that I would maybe do differently. But also, I'm not particularly upset that I quit college because it turned out it wasn't for me. College is for everyone. I recommend you figure it out. If you know beforehand, great. But try college. You'll never know. Some people thrive, some people don't. That being said, Nick is now replaced. The original kid who played Nick, for some reason, did not come back. I'm not going to make any assumptions, but he was in the second movie for a short period of time. This new Nick is actually played by... So, the kid who is now going to play Jimmy Olsen in James Gunn's Superman movie, he was Sean Spencer in the final seasons of Psych. And if you remember my review of Psych, the show, back in May, I said that he was the best Sean. And I stand by that. He's a really good actor. The other Sean actors were kind of just okay. One of them I kind of found a little annoying, but children actors, I'm not going to hate on a child actor. But this kid, I thought, always kind of had a certain talent about him. And I'm happy that he's going to be in Superman, and that is probably going to be, if not the biggest role of his career, one of them. I'm happy that he is in Superman. And Jimmy Olsen should be there, damn it, because I like Jimmy. Who doesn't like Jimmy? Except for Zack Snyder for some reason. Well, anywho, this kid, I think, did a good job playing Nick. He's a little nerdy, but he also is like a DJ and wants to be a DJ. He doesn't want to go to college. He wants to, DJ in Barifa. And I think he does a good job. And I think, while some of the magic of, Ben Stiller having to trying to build a relationship with his, 10-year-old kid, there's a magic there. I'm an uncle now. I probably brought up the fact that I'm an uncle maybe a little too much on this channel, if I'm being real, y'all. But I'm an uncle now. I understand more than ever how important it is to have a relationship with a kid. And, I haven't always been, I think like anyone, I've made mistakes with my parents, and I think it's important. Granted, kids don't watch my channel. My channel is around my age and a bit older, but honestly, spend as much time with your parents as you possibly can, because they're important, and having those relationships are important. And spend time with your kids. Find time to be a mom. Find time to be a dad, because kids are the best thing in the whole world. And they are the most important thing in the whole world. Without children, we are going straight to hell in a handbasket. So, protect the children, I guess. Although not in the pearl clutching way. In the be a parent. It's important kind of way. Enough soapbox. I thought the kid who played, Nick was good. I'm forgetting his name right now, but he did good. Both actors who played Nick were honestly really great actors. And I hope that the original Nick is successful, because I don't think he acted much after 2010. So I hope you're doing good, my guy. Ben Stiller, I think, does a good job here. Robin Williams. So Robin Williams and I almost said Burgess Meredith and Mickey Rooney, Teddy Roosevelt, and Gus, respectively, are in this film, but they died during the production of this film. Robin Williams famously died because he committed suicide, and he is extremely, and Mickey Rooney was extremely talented in his own way as well. R.I.P. to both of them. But Robin Williams was such a powerful actor, such an amazing actor. I honestly, even after his death, I have not seen enough of his filmography. I only a few months ago saw Patch Adams for the first time. He's just such an incredible actor, and one day I'm going to sit down and make it my mission to see every film in Robin Williams' filmography. Because he is such a great actor, and R.I.P. to all the actors we've lost this year. We've lost some incredible, talented actors. So many that I don't want to spend the time to name them right now, especially since this video is running kind of long. But Robin Williams was an amazing Theodore Roosevelt, and I don't know. I think having a really good representation of a former president. I mean, because no president is perfect. No president. None of them are perfect. But I think having a really positive representation of Theodore Roosevelt and just of history is super important. That leads me to The Secret. I'm not going to truly reveal it, but although I think I said it kind of by accident already. But basically, we see Aquaman parents. There's a really funny but also kind of really dark joke about the connection between Jewish people and Egyptians that I don't think would have flown today. These two movies, all of these movies are really wholesome, and I think do a really job at being like, hey, history's great, but also history kind of has some problems. But overall, we need to learn history, and history is important. This is the only one, the most recent one, that kind of has like a joke that I don't think, because everything else has been really fun, you know, hey, history, fun. But this is the only one that kind of has a joke in it regarding history that I think probably didn't age super well. But but after that unfortunate connection between Jewish people and Egyptian people, a joke is over. We learn the secret of the tablet, and Aquaman dad's like, hey, there you go, here's the secret. And now we know it. And it's up to Ben Stiller to remedy the problem with the tablet. And there's a loophole, or there's a problem, not a loophole, a problem that arises in the form of Lancelot. Daniel Stevens, is that his name? The guy who played Beast in the remake of Beauty and the Beast from Disney, who was also became really famous. My mother loves, I think his name is Dan Stevens. My mom loves Dan Stevens, you know, because of Downton Abbey. He's kind of famous because he was in Downton Abbey, and now he's in so many other things where he's a really talented actor. He is one of the best actors from Downton Abbey. And if you have not seen the show, actually, I recommend it. He plays Lancelot, and Lancelot, famously, through the Arthurian legend, was sent by King Arthur to find the Holy Grail. And Lancelot, because the statues believe themselves, sometimes it's sort of played a little bit like Toy Story, where the statues who are brought to life by the tablet either know that they're wax, or, you know, they think that they are the real steel, you know, that they are the real deal. And it's very often, I think, the more animal type of, it's more the animals that I think that they're real, you know, like perhaps Dexter, and there's a Triceratops in this film that thinks it's a real Triceratops. But like, it's very often animals or something like that believe them to be real. In terms of the humanoid, the humanoid figures who sort of, can go either way. Hey, either I'm real or I'm not real. Lancelot is one of the ones who believes that he's real. So he goes and, in a quest to find the Fountain of Youth, he, decides to, minor spoilers, steal the tablet of Akhmenrah and bring it back to King Arthur. That scene, or that plot line, unfortunately brings us to, I think, the worst scene of the entire series. There is a cameo that is fun, and it's a fun connection to other Sean Levy films. But honestly, that scene with the actor in question, I love that actor. I'm not going to spoil who it is. I love that actor, but dear goodness gracious, that just drags the pace to a grinding halt, and it's unfortunate. But after that, Lancelot, does his thing, and the day is saved. And I love it. I love all these movies. Like I think 2 and 3 unfortunately have problems that 1 doesn't have, but 1 also has problems. I love this series to death. I'm so sorry that this video turned out to be as long as it did. A mixture of my passion for this series and also my tendency to run a bit long. Watch this, not upload. But tell me, do you remember watching these movies as a kid? Do you love these movies as much as I do? I would love to know. And if you have not seen these, I highly recommend you do. I know so many of my audience is around my age. You're 25, like 20, 25, 24, and up. If you have kids and you have not shown these films to them yet, please do. It's so important that we learn about history so we do not repeat history. You become smarter if you know more about history. That is a simple, undeniable fact. And these are really fun movies. Ben Stiller is an amazing actor. All these guys were amazing actors. And Sean Levy is a really great director. And like I said, if you have not seen Night Museum 1, Real Steel, and Cheaper by the Dozen with Steve Martin, those are his 3 best films, and I highly recommend them. So remember that God made you special. He loves you very much. I hope you have a very lovely day. I hope you had a very lovely week. And Merry Christmas, and God bless y'all.